Welcome back. If you just joined us, we've been looking at the war against fake and counterfeit drugs in Nigeria. Our guest is the Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye. Join us again. The campaign and advocacy you've mounted now, beyond mere advocacy to action now, has it been able to deter the peddlers or the investors, syndicates of this fake drugs, going headlong with someone who has invested over 20 billion naira on fake drugs? Is not going to give up easily.
They're not going to give up easily, and NAFDAC is not going to give up easily. The fake and substandard, I want us to again separate them. The fake and substandard drugs are going to be eliminated, or almost eliminated to be pragmatic, because we want to encourage also local production. We're working with local manufacturers, we're working with international partners to invest in our local manufacturers so that instead of us importing about 70% of our drugs, if we import 30%, that's still okay. But we want to change it around so that 70% of our drugs are manufactured locally. That will dissuade people that are trying to fake the drugs. That, of course, it will dissuade them.
Who are these merchants of fake drugs?
Unfortunately, it is Nigerians and sub-countries in Asia, because it is not just the Asian countries shipping things to us. Now,
You've seen international complicity. What's the level of support you are getting from the government of that country? Are they on the same page with you that there's a need to stamp out fake and counterfeit drugs?
Actually, it's not a complicity as such, it is collaboration. We are collaborating with China, we are collaborating with India. Again, I mentioned talking with my partners over there, that they need to look carefully into their drug regulatory policies. For example, tramadol, 225 milligrams, 500 milligrams. Many of the boxes or the packages have for exports only. And I discussed with my counterpart in China. For exports only, 225 milligrams, about 10 times the amount that anybody should take. 500 milligrams, about 10 times, even more than that, than anybody should take. And I was told that their regulatory policy doesn't cover for exports only. I said, no. We've got to think about this. That's where we are right now.
So how do you intend to resolve the differences on how to tackle this? Because it's obvious that they have a different opinion about the regulatory mandate for export and importation of fake drugs into the country.
They are working at it as we speak. It is like, okay, they have a law that they too struggled with, but now that it's been heightened up. For example, I went for the China-Africa collaboration on health meeting, and the ministers were there. Our honorable minister also mentioned or emphasized the same thing, that we don't want collaboration that is based on inequity in terms of health consideration, meaning 225 milligrams, 500 milligrams being brought into our country. We will not tolerate it. So we are working on it. We are working at it, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Now, when you do a comparative analysis internationally now, you see countries that some countries do have stiffer penalties and strong regulation on fake drugs. But in Nigeria, can it be said to be the same? It seems there is absence of enabling laws to finally nip this activity on the board.
That's a very good question. Our laws are weak in Nigeria, but we have submitted a bill to the National Assembly to make the penalties stiffer, and that is being worked on.
You talked about the issue of fake drug being a multi-sectoral issue.
Yes.
And that brings to mind the role of several agencies. You see NAFDAC. checking the quality of some of these products. And so how did we get to this point?
How we got to this point is because we are not thinking of the future of our children. I'm very passionate when it comes to the effect of drugs.
You don't think that the agencies are not living up to their roles?
We dropped the ball as a country.
Do you think that NAFDAC as an agent compromised